Okay, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Okay, so the first question, what's the difference between aql and qalb? Well, first of all, we use words like qalb, literally translated into English as heart, and ruh, literally translated as soul, and nafs, which is also usually translated as the desires, but it refers to the same soul. And so, yeah, nafs and ruh and qalb. Now, first of all three are one and the same thing. It's just the haysiyat. It's the perspective from which you are talking and discussing. If you're discussing it from the perspective of the Islamic morality, we call it as qalb, usually, the heart. If you open up a book of Islamic morals, you probably will find the word qalb and heart written in that book instead of the soul. If you open up a book of Islamic belief system, ilmul kalam, you will probably find the word ruh written there. And if you are talking about the moral lowliness and spiritual lowliness, and from that perspective which makes us similar to the animals, then we talk about the use of the word nafs. So it's the same single entity found in the human being, which we call the soul, that we use several words to refer to the same entity. So qalb, the heart, ruh, the soul, and nafs, the desires, they're all one and the same thing, which is the human souls. Human souls are the home for the desires. Human soul is the heart, we refer to as the heart. So this soul has a power which is called intellect and aql that we were talking about. So this aql and comprehension and the power of understanding and intelligence, this is one of the powers which resides in the soul of a person. Question number 2, what is the purpose of our existence? Does God want to be worshipped? If not, then why did He create us? God doesn't need nothing from anyone. If He needs, He would not be God. So He doesn't need anything. He wants us to worship for our own sake. When we worship God, we get elevated and we become spiritually successful. So He wants us to worship so that we can become successful. He is not getting anything out of it. He never gains anything. He's already perfect. Yes, He wants to be worshipped for our sake, not for His own sake. He doesn't stand in need. We get elevated and we get perfected. The more we worship, the more we move forward towards spiritual perfection. He created us because of His blessing, because He is merciful. He gave us a chance, an opportunity to become perfect. So giving a chance to someone so that someone can become perfect, gets elevated, become nurani, and spiritually illuminous with the divine light, what's wrong with that? That's a blessing of Allah that He gave us that opportunity, and because of that opportunity, we can avail those opportunities and reach such a high level that, see, the people of paradise, when they would wish whatever, as soon as they would wish, they would get it. So that's what our Urafas say, that Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, min al-abd bimanzilati kun min al-Rabb. Just like if when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wishes to do something, all He says is be, and it happens. Isn't that right? And my teacher, Ayatollah Jawadi, Hafidhahullah, was saying in tafsir that he doesn't even need to say be. This is said to make us humans understand the concept. Otherwise, it is not kun al-lafziyya. It's not an oral statement of Allah the word be that he utters with his mouth. No. His own will and irada and intention and will is enough. That's what it takes for anything to happen. As soon as he wishes, as soon as he wills, it happens. So it's not even an oral word be that is required for Allah. So just like Allah can perform whatever with His intention, with His will, similarly the people of the paradise, see, they have reached such high levels that Allah provided them by creating them and giving them the guidance to worship, how to worship. They reach such high levels that they can achieve whatever they want to achieve by saying Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. So isn't that good? That we also end up achieving everything that we wish to achieve. That's the benefit of why He created us. Our perfection and kamal. Any other question?
Because some of the questions are a little bit wordy, and that's completely understandable, I was just going to ask that if you can be as clear as possible, I'll do my best to articulate your question, and I apologize to anyone if I'm not able to do so, and I think maybe you can then try to ask a follow-up question. One of the questions is if you could, Maulana Sahib, maybe expand on the point that you made in the middle of the speech. You had mentioned that thinking about the end result of the sin is a great benefit. And then there was a mention about not getting caught up too much on the results of our actions. If you could differentiate between the two and what the positives are of thinking about the benefit of the sin, but then not being too concerned with what the rewards will be, since those things are out of our control and in the will of Allah.
Yeah, these are two different things. Thinking about the sin and its end result will make us abstain from the sin, for sure. If we think that as soon as I do the backbiting, ghibah, God forbid, my soul gets burnt. If I usurp the money of an orphan out of injustice, I'm eating hellfire. I'm not eating this loaf of bread, I'm eating the hellfire. If I do slander, if I hurt other people, if I do zulm and oppression, if I support the zalims, if I do any of the haram in my life, I'm getting my soul burnt straight away. So I will abstain from the harams. But the other point which I mentioned about not focusing on the result is a totally different phenomenon, because we are, in that case, we are discussing that we are supposed to focus on our fariza, our duty from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If Allah asks me to raise my voice against oppression, now here is the point. Imam Hussain alayhi salam raised his voice against the oppression of Yazid. Isn't that right? Should he focus on what it would be the end result of me raising the voice against the oppressor Yazid? Should he focus about the end result? If he focused about the end result, he would have been protecting his life, not sacrificing. He does not focus on the end result. He doesn't care about what happens. He cares about what Allah wants. And Allah wants him to do his fariza and duty, to raise and do the qiyam, to rise up against the oppression of Yazid. And Imam Hussain did his fariza, what Allah commanded, without focusing on the end result of what he did. He may end up surviving, he may end up becoming shaheed, which is the best form of life, to become shaheed. So Imam Hussain alayhi salam is successful whether he survives or he dies. In both cases, he's successful. Isn't that right? Then Yazid remains in power for the next 2 years. In our belief in Islam, Yazid is a failure even though he remained in power for the next 2 years. Why? Because you don't judge the successes and failures of people because of the end results. You judge the successes and failures of people based on the fact whether they perform their fariza and duty towards Allah or not. Imam Hussein performed his fariza, so he is successful, and Yazid was a transgressor and violated the fara'id of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the duties that Allah obliges, so he is a failure. So we don't care about what's the end result. Even if we care, it's not in our reach to alter it, we'll be wasting our times. So let's not waste our time on things that are beyond our reach. Let's focus on things which are within our reach, and that is our Islamic Shari'i responsibility and duty towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Is that clear?
Due to the fact that we are running a little bit late, we don't have a lot of time left for question and answers. I'm wondering, are there any questions from the sisters' side? Are there any papers that I can collect right now and ask so that your questions are also answered? And as Maulana Sahib is looking, there was also a quick question as to whether or not the outline of your speech could be obtained online electronically.
You can obtain it, but it's all written in Arabic, or some of my notes are in Farsi, so you can take it, but you have to translate it then. Point number 6 is whoever thinks about Ahwal al-Kibar, somebody who thinks about the situations of the elderly people in the community, in the Islamic community, he will end up having rushd and mental growth. So when we see how our elderly people who are truly and really elderly, an elderly person who is the one who has spiritual and mental and social and political growth in his approach, in his understandings, and his stance of life that he follows, he is truly an elderly person. In Farsi there's a proverb, they say, Buzurgi ba ilmast, navasin nosal. Being elderly is because of your knowledge, not because of your age. And that's so true. So if a person has more knowledge and understanding of the religion, he's our elderly person. We need to consider him as our big person, even though his age may be less. So it's not the age factor. So when you think about those who are considered to be elderly, then you will also end up having mental growth and understanding, rushd.
I was just informed that Maulana Sahib's speech will be, inshallah, available online soon on the Muslim Congress website. So in case there are any questions regarding the specific points, inshallah you can see that and make those notes and outline as well. I think for the sake of time, because we are over now, if you were not able to get your question asked, I apologize. Inshallah, there will be an opportunity over the course of the next day and a half for you to perhaps ask Maulana Sahib either over the course of the activities or in a different setting. We will have a group meeting and we will begin that with a short presentation. Thank you, Maulana Sahib, for the tremendous presentation and for answering the questions. And inshallah, we'll move to the next segment with salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad.